I chose to research Landau-Kleffner Syndrome. I recently had a conversation regarding various disabilities that are being misdiagnosed as autism, so I wanted to delve a little deeper into that. I did a Google search for disabilities with autism-like symptoms and came upon Landau-Kleffner Syndrome. I referenced the NORD website for further resources to explore. I found that Landau-Kleffner is a rare form of epilepsy that only affects children. There have only been an estimated 160 reported cases between 1957 and 1990. It is sometimes referred to as acquired epileptiform aphasia. The onset of LKS typically occurs between the ages of 3 and 7, with boys being twice as likely than girls to have it. Children with LKS have typical development up until that point. With the onset of Landau-Kleffner syndrome, children lose their ability to understand language. Imagine you go to bed one night and when you wake up the next morning, your entire family is speaking German. Apparently you know German too, only now you don't. You cannot speak to them and you cannot understand what they are saying to you. They think you're joking, but you really aren't. Somehow you lost the ability to speak German in your sleep. You're very frustrated. Now imagine you are 5 years old in that same situation. You suddenly lost the ability to understand and talk to your family. This is the struggle that children with Landau-Kleffner syndrome face. The deterioration in speech and language ability may occur gradually or over a period of a few weeks or months. The loss of language often leads families to think that their child is deaf. Children with LKS begin to compensate by gesturing. Sometimes children become overactive and have difficulty concentrating. Other times children become very irritable and have a hard time in social situations due to their language. Most epileptic activity occurs during sleep and therefore may not be apparent to the family right away. This abnormality can be shown on a brain wave recording or EEG. All children with LKS have seizure activity during the active phase, whether it is visible to others or not. Both sides of the brains are usually affected with concentrated activity in areas vital to language, such as the centrotemporal region. It is thought that this is what causes the regressions and impairments. The seizures tamper the normal wiring of the brain so that certain functions cannot occur. The course of LKS varies from child to child, but very rarely is it life-threatening. The active phase lasts until adolescence. During the active phase, children may regress and recover repeatedly. It is not uncommon for a child's understanding and performance to vary within a single day. While the first regression is typically the most severe, it is not unusual for children to recover skills only to lose them later during a regression. During the active phase, some children recover lost skills on their own. Others need medical aid such as anti-epilepsy drugs or even brain surgery. The long-term prognosis for children with LKS is good, with problems resolving or decreasing upon adolescence. Some children may still continue to have some language problems, however. Typically, the later the onset of LKS, the greater the probability of a full recovery. So we know that children diagnosed with LKS are likely to resume typical development upon adolescence. Those years between the initial regression and final recovery will probably be very trying for the family members and the child. It is important for those involved in the child's life to learn about Landau-Kleffner syndrome and the impact that it will have on the child. It is very likely that the child will be very confused and frustrated about what is happening and may exhibit that frustration in varying ways. Regardless of the action of the child, families must nurture and provide as much structure as possible. Although the child's language development is hindered, families can still find ways to communicate, such as sign language or a picture exchange communication system. The child may have a hard time recognizing previously familiar sounds. Families need to take this into account for the safety of the child. The child might not recognize that the honk of a car while crossing the street or the sound of a fire alarm signal danger. When family outings are planned, the noises that might be present must be taken into consideration as well. Music that the child might used to have enjoyed might be very unpleasant to them now. Some things will be kind of trial and error to determine if the child is comfortable in the situation. All in all, it is just very important that families understand all the aspects and implications of this syndrome and be very flexible in their daily lives. The Epilepsy Foundation and the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes are two organizations with very helpful information on Landau-Kleffner syndrome. I also found that the Friends of Landau-Kleffner Syndrome website to be very helpful for families as well. Thank you.